I want to go back to November, December 2023. I think it's safe to say that there's only one person in this entire room tonight who's been intimately involved in hostage negotiations, and it's you. So most people don't know what that's like to do what you had to do and what you did in the administration, what you did when you were handing things off and working closely with Steve Witkoff. And I want to talk about these different rounds of hostage negotiations. But the first round, over 100 hostages back, late November, early December. What was your thinking then as to what could produce what was ultimately produced, which was this, I think it was an 8-day, right? It was an 8-day ceasefire, temporary ceasefire, getting all these hostages back. Like going into it, you thought what could get Hamas to make this kind of concession?
We realized, and Dan, we were going to talk about a little bit of background, but like from that very difficult year in Iraq, I think Dan, you and I are sometimes like, oh, they were in Iraq, so therefore they must be total neocons and want to change regimes over around the world. I think anyone who lived through that experience comes out of it with a very disciplined approach to thinking through national security problems, a very careful approach of using the force of U.S. military power, and approaching a problem not from an ideological prism at all, but through a pragmatic, practical problem-solving lens. I mean, that was my, just spending almost a year there and seeing it, and then being in the White House with President Bush as we tried to adjust the strategy to kind of align ends and means. So I look at a situation and you do a net assessment of who are the players, what are the interests, what are the power dynamics, and then what are the ends, ways, and means what are you trying to achieve? How are you going to do it? What are the resources? And when it came to the Gaza conflict early after October 7th, it's very clear without a hostage deal of some kind or arrangement, without hostages coming home, this war is not going to end. You can't, the hostage situation was so awful. And having been to Israel shortly after October 7th, so many times afterwards, to end the war, you have to have an arrangement with the hostages. Hostages have to come out. So that was what we settled on early. I think that is still right. And that led to the November deal. The November deal was basically look, and you got to go back in time to that because, I was at the Manama dialogue before the November deal, 3 weeks into the war. And we're trying to get the deal. I just come from Doha. We're working on it. I remember talking to President Biden around the time about what we had to do to try to get this done. And already opinion was forming very rapidly against Israel. And we were trying to say, look, we want a ceasefire. Everybody wants a ceasefire. Release the women and children. And there were a lot of women and children being held, including elderly women, grandmothers, 4-year-olds, toddlers. Release the women and children, we'll have a ceasefire. And Israel agreed, as they did a number of times throughout this process, that yes, if, and there's a list, agree to release women and children, we'll stop fighting, be a ceasefire. And the ceasefire also enables a surge of humanitarian aid and everything else. It's hard to do all this when you have an intense conflict. So that was basically, okay, everybody is calling for a ceasefire. To get a ceasefire, let's call on Hamas to release the women and children. And I mean, I said at Manama, I just stated that fact. There's a ceasefire tomorrow if Hamas will release women, including 80-year-old women, children, including toddlers. There's a ceasefire. And I would hope international opinion would then come down on Hamas. Yeah, release the women and children, get a ceasefire. But for some reason, it's not as simple as that. In any case, eventually Hamas, and I got it, we had President Sisi involved in this, and the Emir of Qatar, and putting pressure on Hamas. We got that deal, and women and children started coming out.